Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dirts of Gaming and another League Start testing video. This time I'm looking at a Wave of Conviction Ignite Elementalist. I will say off the bat, I've not played this type of character in a long time, so I may have made 1 to 1 million mistakes. However, I think it helps people get an understanding of what a build's like to level that you're unfamiliar with, as it's probably a more realistic outcome, as everyone is going to make mistakes if they've not played a build before. This video is going to cut between some live commentary sections and some voiceovers and footage. The videos are quite hard to put together to ensure they flow properly because I'm trying to condense 15 hours of gameplay into a 20-minute video, but I hope people get some sort of use out of them. In regards to POBs, it's super hard to keep track of POBs in terms of building one master POB, so going forward I'll just post a few snapshot POBs from certain points. What I will try and do there, if there are guides to the same build or similar builds, I'll try and link some guides if they're available. If people wanted to get more in-depth understanding of the build, if they like the look of what they see. So I will talk about how I leveled the build later on, as well as walk through the first map and showcase a T16. I'll also go through the gear I ended up on the character when I obtained the first 2 Void Stones. So with that out of the way, let's jump forward and we'll go to the end of the campaign. So we've reached the end of the campaign. You can tell I don't play spellcasters. I was slow and died a lot. So there was a tiny bit of downtime, but realistically it's probably 5 hours 45 to get the labs done and the campaign. I was kind of making it up as I went along because I couldn't find a really decent leveling guide, but maybe I didn't look hard enough. So what I thought I'd do from these playthroughs on is actually use the timer to track my time rather than #played or /played, because then it allows me to talk as I'm going through and I don't have to worry about the timer ticking through. So we'll just snapshot the play time at say 5 hours 59 minutes, and then I'll start a timer when we start up again. So in terms of deaths, there was loads from what I remember. Yeah, 7 deaths, which me in a campaign is unusual. I don't normally die, but I don't normally play super immobile characters. I'm normally champion, Deadeye, Raider, something nice and quick. This thing is super slow. I tried things like shield charge and leap slam, but with no attack speed, it just doesn't feel any better than just walking. So we'll go through the skill tree that I settled on. There's a POB with a couple of trees in it for leveling. But essentially, because we're going Ignite and we're taking Shaper of Flames, then all your damage ignites. So it's basically just a case of stacking damage, flat damage, spell damage, damage over time, anything that can increase my output. And then things like faster ignites, increased duration of ailments, things like that. So when I leveled, I went straight to Firewalker, then up and took both of these flame nodes here. Then I've gone and taken the damage over time multiplier with effective cruelty. Taken elemental overload on bosses, it's never up, but when you're mapping, it gives you a nice damage boost because it should be up most of the time. Then we've gone explosive impact for more fire damage in area. I'm not sure this is worth it looking at it for 4 points, but at the beginning of the playthrough it was quite a bit of damage. I think what we'll probably do is drop those and then come down here and get Divine Judgment would definitely be better. And we can actually, yeah, we could save 4 points there. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can almost get there with a couple of points. So I think that's probably where I should have gone instead of over here. And I've taken some life and sovereignty for increased reservation. Also taking the mana and increased reservation to fit in some more auras. And then in the second half of the campaign, this is where I've gone. So I've gone to get Eldritch Battery just so I don't have to worry about mana. It allows me to get one more aura in as well, which is Defiance mana. But at the moment, my gear is absolutely dreadful, so I don't really get much benefit from it. Again, Ignite deal damage faster. I've had to take some strength nodes at the moment. More fire damage, and enemies have -5 to LE res. Some life, some damage over time, more ailment damage, and then over here for, again, more damage. I think next few nodes will be down to get life and some much needed strength. Could go down here to get Dex and Int and cast speed. And then definitely over to Divine Judgment. And then I'm not sure where I'm going next. In terms of the playstyle, I think I just need to get used to this sort of playstyle. I'm normally used to instant attack or spell builds that kill very quickly. When you got an Ignite build early on, I probably haven't built it that great, to be honest. But it does kill fairly slowly, so you can't go charging into packs expecting them to die. And all of my deaths really, other than a couple of horrible mixtures of rare mods, have just been me being overzealous, trying to rush through, and the enemy's not dying quick enough and getting stunned and getting killed. In terms of the gear, I picked up I actually picked up loads of currency in the campaign. I picked up 1 Divine Orb and 11 Chaos Orbs. These Singularity Scepters are normally about 3 to 5 Chaos on day 1. And they add a ton of damage because they give a lot of flat damage, which turns into ignites and shocks. We hinder nearby enemies, and they also take 100% increased damage from ailments. So this just works really well. Cast speed definitely helps, because that is one thing I felt maybe led to a death or two, was Wave of Conviction is a slow cast time, and it did feel not that great. In terms of my gem links, no idea what to do with this, because you're going Ignite and you can't really stack, well, you can't stack ignites with that specific gear. You can't really go loads of different routes of damage. So for bosses, I've got an Arcanist brand Flame Surge, because this puts Burning Ground down, that deals fire damage per second of the ignite affecting the enemy. So if we get a big ignite on the enemy, this adds damage to that. Done Flammability to obviously lower resistances. And then Combustion to get some exposure into the build for when we actually take Mastermind of Discord here to get an extra minus 25%. I'm only going to use it on bosses. For the main 6 link, I've settled at the moment on Cruelty, Unbound Ailments, LE Prolif, and Wave of Conviction. You could obviously swap this out for bossing if you wanted more damage. But I felt I definitely needed LE Prolif for the clear to feel okay. Maybe when we get a bit of currency, we could go Beric's Respite to get some Prolif. I have a Stone Golem for a bit of life regen. We've got a Vitality and Determination, which I need to get some strength to be able to level them up a bit more. Flame Dash linked to faster casting. And then Malevolence for more damage over time. And then just a Defiance banner. And that's kind of what I've settled on. Flask, I honestly have no idea. I think I'm going to try and get some evasion, some armor, and some energy shield into the build. Going to need a bit of energy shield while I'm Eldritch Battery. Evasion would help because I just felt getting hit all the time felt really bad. And obviously armor will help for determination. Obviously got no jewels at this point. So this is kind of where the build stands at the moment. I think if I was used to this playstyle and I knew a bit better how to eke more damage out of it early on, it would have felt a lot better. I do like the fact that you set 1 ignite on the enemy and then you just dodge him for 4 or 5 seconds, put another one on the enemy. It's much slower than the builds that I'm used to, but I think once I get used to the playstyle, it'll be much safer. I just think it might be something where we either have to scale defenses really hard or damage really hard, because it is going to have a limit, especially on budget SSF gear at League Start. I think it's going to be really hard to get it to like 500,000 DPS, but most of the attack builds that I've done when I've got to sort of T16s have only been between 500,000 to 1 million DPS, and it's obviously not constant DPS. So with damage over time builds, I think you can almost double the DPS that you get on them. But that's how leveling went. I was pretty bad, but we got through under 6 hours. So we'll go and do our first map and we'll see exactly how this feels. Now, I'm nowhere near res capped for cold and lightning. I've had junk luck through the campaign. I think I've had like 3 essences and very little gear that's any good. So all of my gear is pretty bad. I've got some rings with some life, but nothing else on it. An absolute garbage amulet with some attributes. A horrendous helmet with 12 life and lightning resistance and no open suffix. A very bad shield with some life and cold resistance. Obviously Singularity, which I've just bought. The gloves are actually not that bad. They give a little bit of resistances and life. The belt has life but no open suffix. And the boots are, trash. They have no open prefix or suffix, some movement speed, and very mediocre resistances. So the gear is terrible. Picked up this helmet, which is energy shield evasion. Not amazing, but it's just 100 times better than this helmet that we've got here. I've not done anything with guard skills at the moment because I really don't see the point of running like a steel skin because I can't level it up high enough, and there's not really anything else that can benefit me. There's no point in doing a molten shell because I've got 500 armor. So we're just going to go into this first map and see how bad it feels. So we'll just turn the game volume up a little bit so you get some audio. So I've been quite lucky. We've got a divine drop in like Act 7. That will never happen on League Start. I just want to see what map I need. So we've got Bone Crypt, Arena, and Plateau. So we'll go and take our last map, which is going to be Barrows. So we'll do this one first, even though this is pretty horrendous for an Ignite build because of all the stupid things in the way. And then we'll go and see how this feels. I did look for some Ignite builds. Maybe I didn't look hard enough. I found some builds with some POBs for decent sort of endgame setups, so I struggled to find. Leveling and YouTube algorithm's a bit weird. It will give me videos that have got like 10 views and are terrible. or it might hide videos that are really useful that a lot of people have seen. It's just a bit weird when you search for videos. I didn't go on the forums or anything like that, which maybe I could have. Oh. Already looking good for... I mean, we're also super low life as well, really. Considering we don't have really any armor mitigation. Other than our Aegis, we don't have any way of blocking or suppressing spell damage. So this sort of life is okay when I'm through on a raider and I've got like 85% evasion and we've got full spell suppression. But on a build that hasn't got a lot of defenses, we'll get killed quite easily, I think. So we're going and visit the boss. I mean, this boss is quite easy. I just think he's quite tanky, so this could take a long time to get him down. Where is he? Have I missed him? Oh, he's already charged off. Actually, DPS is not too bad, and it's nice and simple to just kite him around and kill him. Got a T2 map drop. Nice start. And then what I'm going to do now is, as with all my videos, go and get some sort of loot filter set up that's going to actually help me out. Decide what I want to go, armor evasion, armor energy shield, and then go from there. But at the moment, I'm not sure where this build is going to go, but you'll find out later in the video. So let's talk about the build in general. In terms of leveling, it felt really, really comfortable once you get your first lab because all your damage ignites. So you just take ignite damage, flat damage, spell damage, everything adds to your ignite. Put an Elite Prolift gem in your main links and it felt super, super smooth. Single target for a dot build, it's obviously not amazing, but it gives you the opportunity to put a dot on the enemy and then stay safe. Where I did feel I really, really struggled when I went into maps, I felt super, super squishy. There was one white map where it was a little bit awkward with the bosses, but I died 4 times because I would get frozen, stunned. I think it was an essence monster that was just insta-freezing me every time we went anywhere near it. My fault, I know. Probably shouldn't have activated him. Should have read the mods. But yeah, it made it really difficult. He followed me all the way to the boss and made it very, very uncomfortable. When upgrading to Singularity and Barracks Respite, the build felt much, much better DPS-wise and clear-wise, but I still felt super squishy. The main difficulty with these sort of spellcaster builds is that you have no easy way to scale armor because you don't take armor nodes on the tree and you don't take evasion. You need lots of energy shield or hybrid bases to fit your gems in because they're all blue. So all you can really do is get some life, a tiny bit of spell suppression, if you can, a little bit of block, and then you have your Ellie Aegis. But that doesn't stop you from taking physical hits and getting stunned every 2 seconds. The other issue I had is without access to Pantheons, it was quite difficult. The maps were quite annoying. I got frozen and chilled quite a lot, which I didn't find I did when I was playing the evasion-based characters because you hardly ever get hit. I do think later on it could be good, but I do think as a leveling build, I just couldn't find a way to gear it to stay safe enough, and I felt like I just had to accept deaths for this kind of playstyle, and maybe that's the case. Elementalist is not necessarily known for being tanky early on, but later on you can get some decent defenses in. In terms of single target, I never upgraded from a 5 link, so from that perspective, I think it actually did okay. I did have to abandon one Drox map. I knew I wasn't ready to do it anyway, but it turned up in Sirius's maps, and it was something like 35-40% more monster life, and you have those totem or flag things that drop that you have to kill because they give him energy shield and make him basically unkillable. And I think I took 2 deaths and gave up. I just don't think I would have got it done. But obviously, if you were set up probably on a 6 link, you would be able to do that content. So on to red mapping. It actually felt pretty good. I did enjoy it. Once I got enough life and enough armor that I wasn't getting killed really easily, it did feel really, really comfortable. But I did feel it wasn't until I got above sort of 4.5k life, got maybe 20-25k armor with flasks, along with your Ellie Aegis, and I had probably with lucky suppress 40-50% suppression. It only started to feel good then. So we'll go on to the Pinnacle Bosses. It actually felt okay. The Exarch Ball phase is quite easy on a slow character. I think the difficulty I have with the ball phase is that I run characters with onslaught, haste, all that sort of thing, any sort of latency, and it is hard to dodge the ball phases. Also, we're a spell build, so I've got flame dash and faster casting, so it makes it much easier to dip in between the balls. I think I only died on 1 ball phase overall in Exarch, and Eater, I took a death right at the very end. He must have been down to like 0.2% health. I was on the last ball in his Inescapable Doom phase, and I died. That fight felt a little bit more annoying because he spends so long away from you, you have to keep chasing him. But I guess with the damage over time build, I maybe needed to get a bit more understanding about how long my dots lasted, and then I can maybe not chase him around the map. But it is something where if you're running something like Ellie Overload, and Ellie damage obviously has a big range, the more ignites you can get on the enemy, the better, because you're more likely to get a big one, and it doesn't get overwritten until you get an even bigger ignite on the enemy. So that's why I kind of focused on basically hitting as much as I can to make sure I'm getting the biggest ignite that I can on the enemy. I also had a 4-link Vile Flame Blast, which definitely did some damage. I think if you could level that up and get maybe in some plus sockets or the gloves that give you like +5 to Vile Gems, that would do some serious single target damage, and that would cause a lot of your issues to go away because you wouldn't have to worry about maybe having 30-second long boss fights or 4 to 5 minute Pinnacle Bosses, because that is going to do some serious damage when you get it leveled up. I think again with the sort of spell build, I hadn't hit 20 on my gems, I haven't qualityed them, I didn't have +1 to gem levels, so there is loads to scale on this build, and I can see why people really like this sort of build. To me, it just felt really, really horrible early on, and I almost gave up after about 8 hours because I just wasn't enjoying it. But once I got used to the playstyle, I did start enjoying it. So the only thing I need to look at is I was trying to get a Divine Blessing set up into this build the whole way through because I noticed that everyone runs Eldritch Battery and Divine Blessing. But on every POB that I looked at, they had 500 energy shield according to POB, and they had their Divine Blessing and Malevolence, and I had 700 and something energy shield, and I couldn't use it. So it might be I need to look at minus mana cost or more reservation efficiency or something like that. But yeah, didn't really work out. So at the moment, it was 1 defensive aura and 1 damage aura. So overall, I'd say this isn't my playstyle. I really don't like the waiting around for things to die. I also much prefer evasion builds to block armor builds, or in this case, a nothing defense build. It just suits my playstyle better, but I do want to learn new stuff, figure out different things, and it's definitely helped me understand a few things about the game a bit better. So again, as mentioned, only on a 5-link. At league start at this stage, you're probably going to be on a 6-link, so obviously maybe have 50 to 20% more DPS. So as usual for these videos, we'll do a map showcase of a T16 Mausoleum. Just run magic. This is just to farm some altars. I've stayed on the 5-link. I've rejigged the tree a little bit from when I killed Ether and Exile to get spell suppression up to 95%, because it was definitely defenses that made this build feel bad. There are other things with this build that are quite awkward. So if you get monster cannot be ignited or immune to ignite and immune to spell, like this one here, it can take absolutely ages to kill them. And this is a mod with no life mods on it, or a map with no mods on it. So if you get a map with something like 40% monster life or 60% chance to suppress spell damage, it's going to feel much worse. Overall, the playstyle wasn't for me, but I can understand why people like these builds. It was very cheap and easy to gear. Once you get past the initial issue of not having life and defenses when you leave the campaign, you can slowly feel the character get a little bit tankier. And I did rush slightly in terms of my progression. If you wanted to stay at lower map tiers, you could easily level to like late 80s, early 90s in late tier yellow maps, and they're an absolute breeze for the build, especially since I'm only on a 5-link. I think there's lots of things you can do to get your damage and your defenses up. So you can add Legacy of Fury boots in to scorch nearby enemies. You can obviously add a 6-link into the equation. You can get some armor and evasion gear so that you can then get some evasion and more actual armor into the build. But colouring the sockets would be quite annoying, and you still do have to figure out a way to make sure you've got enough energy shield if you're running Eldritch Battery. But I'm sure if there's build guides for this, which I'm sure there are, they'll go through the nuances of it and how to get around it. Overall, yeah, I will not play this sort of build at league start. It's just not my kind of play style. I think I know people say that spellcasters are easy because all the damage comes from gem levels, and it does. The issue with spellcasters is they all start on that side of the tree if you're a witch, and as an elementalist you don't get any physical defenses and any spell defenses, you just get your LEHs. So I think I didn't enjoy gearing up the defensive part, I enjoy gearing up the offensive part. So I prefer to go for ascendancies that offer a bit more defense, and then I can scale the offense myself by crafting weapons, gear, whatever it is that's needed. That's just my personal preference. So I think we're going to stick along the spell route, but maybe now I know that I don't mind spells, but I hate the squishiness of the witch. I mean, I'm someone who plays a Deadeye, and I'm saying a witch is super squishy, so I think that's saying something. So I think maybe we can go Templar. You can get some decent defenses there. I haven't decided yet. But overall, satisfied that it did what it needed to do on a 5-link. If you like this kind of build, I'm sure there's better guides out there already published. So what I thought we'd do is just do one final map showcase. It seems that's all this video is. The reason being, I've actually made a few changes to try and shore up the defenses of the build. I've actually pathed down here to get Inveterate to make my spell suppression 77%. With this lucky node, it turns to about 95%. I've also crafted some fizz taken as on the helmet and on the body armor, again, to try and make myself feel less squishy. The POB will be in the description with all of the gear. I won't run through that in detail. We've essentially just added a barracks respite, kept the singularity, and just upgraded the res slightly, but most of them are still pretty mediocre. So we'll go and we'll do a Caldera map. We will see if we've got any outs to go and actually run it properly. We do. So that should be fine. And we'll run Seer and Exile. Have I got Burning Ground? I do not. Okay. Could be interesting. I also haven't played this build for about 5 days because I'm just doing this after recording the video. So let's hope we remember how to play it. And then I think one more thing you'd want to do on the build is sort out mobility, because it is something you probably want to do. Like I say, I haven't done anything. I've just got a Quicksilver Flask and a Flame Dash, but you could definitely, I would think, get Shield Charge going, or you could even use Leap Slam. But you're going to need some sort of attack speed, or it's just going to feel really bad. The next build I've settled on, I've actually already done most of the playthrough, is going to be a Bone Shatter Trauma Stacking Juggernaut. From scratch. Actually went really well. I didn't realise that Garatha actually league started it, so I was able to get lots of ideas from his channel, which was nice. So yeah, more of that to come. Yeah, so this definitely feels more comfortable. I don't feel like every 3 seconds I'm getting stunned from a hit. Mausoleum, that's all I see at the moment. So we'll hope the boss goes okay. It's not a particularly nice boss because there's lots of mechanics going on within the arena, but I don't think we're picking up a yellow map. And like I say, I will link some POBs in the video description for, or not POBs, video links for people who have done this type of build. Because I'm sure they'll make a better job of it than me. But now I've come back to this build, I think I was a little bit critical of it when I was reviewing the build. Looking at actually the junk gear that this has, it's perfectly fine as a league starter. This is where the test is really. Because this is where you want your build to be quite tanky, which it isn't, because you have to dodge lots of stuff. And when you don't have many defenses, it's hard to do. So I think still need some work on the defenses. But overall, for a build that's still on a 5-link and on junk gear, actually I was definitely too harsh on it. The build worked okay. It just had some pain points early on. That's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.